Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we're diving into this massive hidden machinery that's literally moving our money around the globe every single second. We're going to look at this crazy ongoing race in e-commerce to make online checkouts absolutely, perfectly instant, right? But doing that without leaving the back door wide open for fraudsters. It's this fascinating tug of war between pure convenience and rock-solid safety, and let me tell you, the tech bridging that gap is evolving at breakneck speed. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll hit the anatomy of an e-payment, then look at the security conversion paradox, move on to the open banking revolution, and finally wrap up with AI versus complex fraud. Let's get into it. All right, Section 1, Anatomy of an e-payment. So to really wrap our heads around the modern challenges of e-commerce, we kind of need to establish exactly what happens behind the scenes in those crucial milliseconds right after you hit buy. At the absolute center of it all is the payment gateway. Think of it like a highly secure, high-speed bridge. It connects you, the customer, with the online merchant and the broader payment system or bank. Its one and only job? To securely zip your super sensitive payment info across the web and get that authorization result back almost instantly. Now, the whole transaction process actually routes through these exact 6 steps. From the second you place that order, your details are locked down and encrypted. That data shoots off to authorize and verify that yes, the funds are actually in your account. Finally, the system kicks back an approval or rejection, giving you that satisfying order confirmation screen. Now, to us, it feels instant, right? But this incredibly complex digital handshake is happening every single time you check out. And, depending on the financial tool you're using, that bridge actually routes your request to entirely different endpoints. Say you use a debit card. Well, the system is checking and pulling directly from your actual available bank balance. But if you swipe a credit card, you're actually spending on a short-term loan, a credit facility provided by whoever issued your card. But hey, regardless of the destination, the gateway's whole job is just to get you there safely. To keep that bridge safe from bad actors, the industry leans on a handy acronym, EATTF. That stands for Encryption, Authentication, Tokenization, TLS protocols for secure web routing, and fraud detection. The absolute game changer here, though, is tokenization. This is just a brilliant security measure where your highly sensitive card data is completely swapped out for a unique, randomized, totally unreadable token while it's traveling. So even if a hacker manages to intercept it, no worries. The token is completely useless to them. Moving right along to Section 2, the security conversion paradox. So this paradox is pretty much the central headache for merchants today. Because while security is obviously essential, throwing up too much friction can literally destroy a business. The numbers here really paint the picture. Back when merchants applied the old 3-to-Secure 1.0 protocol to every single transaction, forcing you to enter passwords or deal with those annoying pop-ups, it absolutely crushed fraud. We're talking down to a tiny 0.2%. But wait, look at the abandonment rate. Up to 35% of people just got frustrated and abandoned their carts. For a medium-sized business, that's millions in lost revenue, which honestly far outweighs the cost of the fraud itself. Well, the modern fix for this paradox is 3D Secure 2.0. Instead of treating every single shopper like a potential criminal, it uses something called risk-based authentication, or RBA. So behind the scenes, RBA is quietly analyzing dozens of invisible data points in real time. It's checking your device ID, your typing speed, your location. And if you look like a normal customer, boom, you sail right through with zero friction. That actually happens for about 95% of checkouts. It only stops and challenges the 5% that genuinely look suspicious. Which brings us to Section 3, the open banking revolution. The digital landscape is shifting fast, mostly because our expectations as consumers are just sky high right now. A recent 2025 industry report from Bright Payments really hits the nail on the head. 43.6% of consumers now expect their refunds to hit their bank accounts within just 60 seconds. Think about that for a second. We are totally over the whole allow 3 to 5 business days thing. We want our money moving instantly, both ways. So, to meet this relentless demand for speed, open banking is driving a massive surge in pay by bank, also known as account-to-account or A2A transfers. This is huge because it completely bypasses traditional credit card networks and all those hefty fees that come with them. Pushed forward by things like the EU's instant payments regulation, these systems settle funds directly between accounts in literal seconds. We're talking 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. On top of that, open banking is rapidly evolving into what we call open finance. With the rollout of new regulatory frameworks like the EDOS 2.0 digital identity wallets over in Europe, we're stepping into an era where your verified identity seamlessly merges with real-time access to your funds. It's wild. It allows apps to look at your whole of wealth, your mortgages, savings, checking, and offer incredibly frictionless, secure verification and instant refunds. It's completely transforming the checkout experience as we know it. And that leads us to our final part, Section 4, AI versus complex fraud. Here's the catch. As payments get perfectly instantaneous, fraudsters are getting significantly smarter. I mean, if a transaction settles in seconds, the fraud detection has to be even faster. Just look at this recent academic data on e-commerce fraud. You'd probably think these guys are out here trying to steal thousands of dollars in one go, right? But check out the massive spike in the $0 to $50 range. They actually prefer to hide in plain sight. They use high-frequency, low-value attacks specifically to slip right under the radar of traditional, rule-based alarm systems. Catching these micro-attacks, it's the ultimate needle-in-a-haystack problem. The data is just incredibly imbalanced. In that same academic data set of 2.84 million e-commerce transactions, get this, fewer than 6,000 were actually fraudulent. When you've got a few thousand bad actors hiding among nearly 3 million perfectly normal shoppers, traditional flat roll systems just fall apart. They either totally miss the fraud or they end up blocking legitimate customers, which we know is terrible for business. Fortunately, the latest academic research is pointing to a seriously powerful next-gen solution, graph convolutional networks. So instead of looking at one single transaction in a vacuum, a GCN basically maps consumers and merchants as interconnected nodes on a giant web. It looks at the relationships, it tracks the behavioral pathways. If node A happens to be connected to a suspicious node B, boom, the system flags it. This kind of structural mapping exposes these hidden fraud rings that a traditional flat list of transactions would literally never catch. But actually, scratch that. They didn't just stop there. Researchers went ahead and created this ultimate defense framework by combining those graph networks with large language models. So they used GPT-4o to read and actually understand the unstructured semantic context of a transaction, things like user behavior tags or quirky merchant notes. Then they use an AI called Tabformer to crunch the structured data, like the exact time and dollar amount. By combining that deep semantic understanding with structural graph mapping, this new framework is hitting a staggering 98% accuracy in risk assessment. It's incredibly efficient at separating the fraudsters from the rest of us. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. As the bridge of e-commerce becomes fully instantaneous, and as AI quietly and continuously maps our every digital interaction into these incredibly complex graphs, how will your own unique digital footprint be used to effortlessly protect your next purchase? It really is a brave new world for digital payments, and honestly, the technology keeping us safe is just as mind-blowing as the convenience it creates. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep learning.